Okay, so I can talk to Compass, and you can see here, Compass knows I work at a tech marketing agency, which was really helpful. And I can say things like, help me think about if TikTok will be useful for my clients. So Compass here is like pretty general marketing expert. It knows a lot about a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, we use a whole bunch of large language models, but we've also trained Compass on enterprise marketing specifics that we proprietary stuff. Oh, totally. Do you want anything about you guys, like Databutton?
Like, how much do I include the parts where you're like, Databutton is amazing? Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for taking the time to chat. I know you're busy. I know you're running an agency. I know you're also doing fundraising at the same time for new ventures. So I'm sure we'll get into all that. But yeah, would love to start out by just hearing about you, your background, and how you got started.
Yeah, so I guess I started off back in the day as a kind of IT consultant, which is kind of as dull as it sounds. And then I really wanted to be a writer, so I decided I was a writer, and I started being a sort of freelance writer for tech companies. And I had this really awesome gig where I reviewed gadgets for a magazine in the UK. So I had PR companies sending me all the latest gadgets every week, and I'd review them, and then I'd keep them, and I got paid, and it was great. So I kind of became sort of writer, tech writer, and then I quickly turned that into, I guess, the agency I've got today with 55 and 5. So I kind of, I was getting too much content work. I hired a bunch of freelancers. I was suddenly managing a team of like 15 freelancers. And then I basically turned it into the agency. I brought the freelancers in-house, or I hired writers. So we became 55 and 5. So suddenly I had a marketing agency focused on tech companies. That was our focus, because that's my background and that's always been our focus. And then, it kind of organically grew from there. We did content. People asked us then, can we, how do we rank higher in Google? We started off in SEO, and then before long, we're a full service agency. We do everything for all kinds of tech companies. It's been 10 years this year. And so that's been quite a ride. And then, because we've always worked in tech, and because I'm a tech person, we've always dabbled in products and building things, and I've built things, and that's where Compass, which is the current focus on what we're raising money for, that's where that comes from.
That makes a lot of sense. What kind of, you mentioned Compass already, so kind of how does that relate to 55 and 5, and what exactly is Compass?
Sure. So 55 and 5, like I say, full service marketing agency. We have all these tech clients. We've built a few products over the years. We licensed a couple of products to Microsoft and Google around kind of like website grading and grading website content and blogs and things like that. Compass is different. So Compass is born out of like the current boom of AI, of course. But really, it's bigger than that. Like, we've been working with various forms of AI for a couple of years, kind of, I'm going to say pre-ChatGPT, just so I can wear that little badge. But basically, AI is coming for agencies like us, I think. Like in the future, AI is going to transform agencies like us, definitely, I think. And we're actually working on a marketing campaign at the minute that will go live in the next couple of weeks around the concept of the agency is dead, because I think it is, because what's coming, AI agents in particular, I think is going to change companies like us, where essentially I have lots of people sat at desks working on computers, and I think that whole world is obviously ripe for disruption. So Compass is a couple of different things, but essentially we're going to try and turn the human-powered marketing agency into a AI marketing platform, and we're going to start with account-based marketing, so ABM campaigns. So big tech companies tend to use ABM an awful lot because it's really effective. You like hand-pick a handful of accounts you want to work with, you research them, you find out who you want to work with, and then you create these bespoke campaigns, really kind of white glove type stuff. So Compass is going to take those principles, but we're going to let our customers scale it to like thousands of accounts, which just isn't possible with humans because it's too expensive. So that's what we're building.
What can you explain how ABM works today with an example, and then kind of like,
sure.
How is that changing drastically with LLMs and AI, and kind of how did you see that before you even started building Compass?
So ABM today. So ABM today is relatively straightforward. Like I've got a team of people in the office, and when we start an ABM campaign, a client might come to us and go, "We want to work with these 4 customers." We have a let's say they have a SaaS product. Let's say it's accountancy software or something. We want to get into these 4 different companies. So ABM starts by, well, let's research those companies. Let's find the right people within those companies, and then let's really get into what those individual people. What's the message, or what's the thing that will make them sit up and take notice? What's the story? So there's a ton of desk research. We'll go through company accounts on their websites. We'll go through obviously social channels. We'll look at the individual social channels. It's a ton of research to go, like, how do we get in front of these people in a really natural way that isn't just show them an ad or send them an email that they never open. So it takes time. That's where the time is. Right? It takes time. Now it might end up that what you decide to do is over 6 months, various different touch points that end in that you're going to try and meet them at an event, or cold calling is a thing, or you're going to send them. A cool example isn't something that we did, but a friend of mine, they did an ABM campaign where there were 10 people they wanted to target, and they made real life action figures out of each of the 10 people, box, just like you got when you were a kid. And the culmination of the ABM campaign is they sent the action figure that looked just like these people, and there was a kind of thing that was a superhero theme to the campaign. And who doesn't respond when they see something like that? Who doesn't at least reach out and go, "Wow, that's really interesting"? So that's what ABM is. It's really time intensive. Yes, it can operate in the sort of real world as well as online. But to get down to the point where you go, well, we're going to send them X, or we're going to do a campaign over, and again, think enterprise clients, over 6 months, where we need to interact with all these different people. It's really, really time intensive. So this is where AI agents come into it. So, Databutton know this way better than I do, but I think, and smarter minds than me, talk about a world coming where AI agents will be able to go off and autonomously act on our behalf. And things like, searching the web is reductive, but desk research and research tasks and, development. Like I was talking to, Martin, one of your co-founders the other day. Sorry, keep getting phone calls. Hang on, let me just turn Teams off. Sorry, it's going to ruin a really good point. I was talking to Martin the other day, one of your co-founders, and he was talking about how in Databutton now, you feel like you've got agents that can sort of run for like 10 minutes at a time on their own. Like that's amazing. Like, and 10 minutes will become half an hour and might even become an hour. So suddenly we're entering this world where we've got agents that in a period in the future, which I don't think is too far away, can go off and do tasks such as go and research that company, go and download their company annual accounts and find the interesting information that we need to use in our campaign. Go and research this person on LinkedIn. Go and find out what their interests are via their social channels. So that's where ABM will scale, and that's sort of the vision, that we can use these agents. Obviously, large language models come into it and all the other tech, but agents, the way I talk to the team internally about it is, it's almost like I think in the near future, every employee in a company will have their own team. Like, it used to just be the managers had a team and they were senior. Whereas now everyone's going to come to work, and rather than just they've got a computer and they do one task at a time, you've got a team, you've got your own team of agents that can go off and do stuff, which for Compass means we can scale ABM to huge amounts of accounts that you can work on at one time. But, and this is crucial, you don't lose the really bespoke, unique output angle. And there's a guy at one of the big VC funds who said, he posted something on LinkedIn not long ago about how, in the near future, marketing is going to be ultra personalized for every single person. Companies will be able to have relationships with their prospects that are really, really personal, and that's the world I want to work in.
Super interesting. I mean, do you mind sharing Compass and what it looks like and how it works?
Yeah, sure. I did not prepare that, but yes, you did mention it. I remember. Don't worry, I've got it. I know it pretty well.
You know it, and it's a chill environment.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. So this is Compass. So I'm going to log in as me. Let me just put my password in. So what we've built today is kind of we've built a bunch of different features, and we're still at the stage where we're sort of testing functionality with a number of different people. So the agents and that technology we're working on, and it's coming. But what's really interesting is agents is kind of just like a framework that we can apply to a number of different use cases. So what we're really trying out at the minute is how people interface with those agents. So this is the main part of Compass that we have with actual used customers now. So there's a couple of things on here. First of all, I'm logged in as me. So Compass here knows all about me, and it knows about my company 55&5 because I've been kind of onboarded. So you can start talking to Compass straight away, and you can say hello, and Compass will respond back. This is where the tech demo gets nervous. Tell you what there is.
Come on, what's going on?
What is going on? You know what? I need to talk to one of you guys about this, but this is not for the webinar. But there is something where I don't know whether it's. I don't think it's the OpenAI API, but there's an issue where Compass sometimes just doesn't work. See, there you go. There, it's really slow. But what will happen now, I think, is all the subsequent responses will be fast and streaming. There's like this weird thing where it's like it has to get, you know, don't get me wrong,
Cold start problem or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so I can talk to Compass, and you can see here, Compass knows I work at a tech marketing agency, which was really helpful. And I can say things like, help me think about if TikTok will be useful for my clients. So Compass here is like pretty general marketing expert. It knows a lot about a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, we use a whole bunch of large language models, but we've also trained Compass on enterprise marketing specifics that we proprietary stuff. So here, you know, it'll talk to me here about kind of why TikTok's good and why it isn't and that kind of thing. But where we're starting to work with agents is you can then actually flip to a different user. Or if I go back to the beginning, you go, actually, maybe I want to talk to Stephen, who's a copywriter, or Jenny's the social media expert. So actually, she's the person I should be talking to. So I just click on Jenny, and I say, hey, Jenny, is TikTok useful for enterprise clients? And then I'm now talking to Jenny. So hey, Chris,
dude.
Say again?
This app looks great.
Yeah, that's all down to you guys. So yes, Jenny responds to me, and she knows what TikTok is, but she also knows that I'm a tech marketing agency. She knows who my clients are, so she said that LinkedIn and Twitter are more interesting. Now, again, what I can do here is obviously I can talk to Jenny about a whole bunch of things, social media, but I can also in the chat, and we're working on different ways to do this in the interface. I can flip to Stephen, the copywriter, and I can say, hi, Stephen. Can you write me a paragraph on why TikTok is right for a client? And you'll see here I've now switched to Stephen, and Stephen now has the full history of the conversation. So I can talk to Jenny and Stephen, I can go back and forth. So I can kind of pick different, this is where the agents come in, I can pick different people. And obviously as we develop this tool further, the agents can go off and do things on their own. So we're kind of trying to build it up like that. There's a few other things we're trying to do around, we've got this notepad feature. So, you know, marketing agencies spend a lot of time creating output. So again, if I go back to main screen, let's pick Barnaby, the strategist. So Barnaby, the strategist, is trained to ask lots of questions because that's what strategists do. So let's say I want to create a very simple one-page strategy document for my boss who wants to know about our social media strategy. Let's create a social strategy, and then Barnaby will talk to me. And you can see there, before we dive in, I've got a few questions. So Barnaby is going to talk and talk and talk, and then he's going to ask me some questions. But then he wants my response, and then obviously we'll go back and forth. But what's cool is in a notepad here, I can do things like, let's say I think, actually, this is what I want. I can just copy that over to the notepad, and I'm going to get rid of this bit. And we've got some basic format and we need to work on that. But let's say here I turn it into my, you know, hey boss, these are the 7 things we need to think about. And also let's assume that my branding's on there and, you know, this is all nicely polished. And then I just click download, and again, it's a little bit rough and ready at the minute, but I've got a document. So we're trying to build this sort of feature where you can create, you're not just in a chat and copy and paste, which seems really basic to me. but you'll actually be able to use this kind of notepad feature to create outputs. And some of the cool stuff that we've got in beta, but we haven't released in this version yet, is you can, there's a couple of things you can say. You can just chat and go, can you send that to the notepad? The two sides of
cool.
each other. And then the one thing that we're working on, which I think will be really cool, is, and again, this gets into agents and that whole world, is we're gonna have another feature that you can turn on or off somewhere here, where imagine that you have another person in your marketing team who's basically always looking at the notepad and always improving it. So let's say, for example, Stephen, write me a poem, I can never type, on marketing. Stephen's a copywriter, so he just writes stuff. There we go. It doesn't ask lots of questions like Barnaby. We're going to have an agent always monitoring this side and basically editing it for you. So
oh, that's so cool.
You don't have to format it. You don't, the agent will look for, well, this looks like sections, or this looks like it needs a contents, or these are spelling mistakes, or so if you tell the Compass at the beginning, we are going to create a strategy document, there'll always be this agent on the right hand side improving your output for you, sort of autonomously. That's one of the things we're working on.
Okay, yeah. So like you're moving concepts and ideas to the right hand side, and then an agent will constantly be like turning that into an actual artifact with the right formatting and all sorts of things.
Absolutely, yeah. And based on, again, everything we know about you, we know about your company, and we know about your role. So yeah, it's going to effectively do the sort of hard work for you. And ultimately, the right hand side could be a PowerPoint deck, it could be a document, it could be a whole bunch of things. And this is just one part of Compass that we're working on, the sort of prototyping the kind of interface and how you might work with it.
Who is typically the user of like this interface that you're showing right now?
So we are stop sharing the screen. We are aiming Compass at internal marketing teams at sort of big enterprise companies. So the users of Compass will be it could be a social media person in a team who's like, my boss has asked me to maybe just create the social copy, which obviously Compass can do. It might be a strategist who has to do the whole thing. It's anyone in an internal marketing team at enterprise company. Effectively, we want them to almost feel like the team are going to onboard Compass as a new member of staff who actually brings their own team with them, and suddenly the team has got all these extra pairs of hands. And like I say, the aim at the beginning is to focus down on building out ABM campaigns, but we're getting to that.
Interesting. You mentioned that you have a couple of customers. Can you talk about that? Like, kind of, what are they? Have you seen any big successes so far from those? Just would love to learn more about kind of what is working, what's resonating with people out there. Yeah,
the really cool thing about Compass is, 55 has all these enterprise customers, and one of the things that willed Compass into life is one of our clients who they're called TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, big enterprise client, awesome people. We've written their social copy for a long time with our in-house writers, and they're really like on the button of the latest stuff. And they saw all this AI stuff coming in a couple of years ago, and they're like, tell us how we should be using it and how we should be working. And fast forward a little bit, we've built another feature of Compass that their internal team now uses to write all their social copy. So the team use it as a writer, so they're overseeing it and they're editing it and they've got all this control. But effectively, we replaced our own content retainer with Compass. So in that sense, it's sort of like, I'm not going to say it's an easy sell, but customers, especially in our space where they're tech and they kind of already in this world, they know this stuff is coming, and they buy into the vision that they can tools like Compass can be like a superpower. So previously, where TCS would spend money on an agency, and they're still a client for all kinds of other things, they now put some of that budget towards a new team member called Compass. So it's a really persuasive argument, and obviously Compass comes with multiple members of staff and operates 24/7 and never has a sick day, and all the good things that AI will bring to us in that kind of future world. So yeah, TCS are a great customer, and we're talking to a bunch of our other customers about different features that they want. And that's where ABM came from talking to people. They're like, well, actually, when we do ABM, that's a real pain point. So the ultimate vision for Compass is that, we'll go all the way from strategizing a campaign to actually running it itself. And then internal marketing teams, instead of having to rely on maybe an agency and external help, they can bring in Compass as that help. So yeah, we're getting a lot of good traction. It's good. It's good. Exciting.
The vision for ABM was really interesting. I hadn't heard of that from you before. So I mean, I think that that's super cool, and also the fact that you actually got that from talking to customers as an actual need and not just some random idea that you had. But I'm curious, like, what do you feel like is the MVP for the ABM kind of part of Compass? Like, what is the first problem do you guys will solve, you think?
That's a really good question. So we've talked about it a lot, because one of the things that it's taken us a little bit of time, and you mentioned at the beginning, like we're raising some money at the minute, and it's sort of going really well because people understand the story. But at first, maybe one of our issues was that we were saying, we're a marketing agency, we solve all kinds of problems. Compass can solve all those problems. That's such a wide scope. So well, yeah, maybe, but so that's where we actually thought, you know what, we need to really hone in on a problem. And as any good sort of SaaS firm would know, and you'll know this, like you talk to your customers, I mean, you're literally doing it now, and you find out what their problems are. So ABM rose to the top, and it's kind of serendipitous. ABM is this really powerful type of marketing that enterprise SaaS. It was invented for enterprise SaaS. It's what we do as an agency, and it's sort of focused enough that we go, right, well, let's get Compass to solve that problem first. And then to answer your question, the first part of ABM we're going to solve is the first sort of half of ABM. So what is the brief, as in what's the problem you're trying, what's the ABM campaign, what problem you're trying to solve? I want more sales in pharma, or I want to target these three. So Compass is going to help you write this really awesome brief that, writing a brief is hard. And Barnaby, the strategist in Compass, who is very closely based on Barnaby, the strategist at 55 and 5, is going to help you do that. It's going to help you write a really tight brief. But then what Compass is going to do is then take that brief and go, right, what's then the strategy that answers that brief? Is this and this is fine in ABM, is this an email campaign? Is it creating eventually, a physical thing to send people? How long does it run over? What are the channels we're using? What are the stories? Create that strategy. Once you've got a strategy, next step is you break that down into assets and channels and creative, and maybe you do need landing pages and blogs and things. So we're gonna get there, and then because the step after that is execution, put things live, and that's where we can integrate into the tools. And that bit is far from easy, but that's where a lot of the existing tools start. So we want to start at that really hard bit, which is the bit before.
Super cool. And then yeah, you mentioned the VC track a couple of times. People are excited. Like, anything else you wanted to mention about that? Like, how does that work in relation to having an agency?
So the VC thing is really interesting. So what because obviously we have 55 and 5. The way we're pitching it is 55 and 5 is a superpower to Compass. So we're talking to VCs about Compass. Like I said, we're getting loads of really interesting conversations. And obviously they go, well, hang on, you've got an agency, that feels like quite a lot of work. But it is a superpower to Compass, because what VCs are always looking for, and again, you guys know this, is like they're trying to de-risk. They're trying to de-risk their investment. So when they look at 55 and 5, they can see domain knowledge, they can see customers, actual and potential, they can see pipeline, and then again, talk about market fit. And we're early, we're sort of pre-seed, seed stage. How do we get market fit and customer fit? Well, we go and talk to our entire network of people that we've got that lap up this stuff. So the two work together really well. And yeah, we're currently in this raise, and already the conversations are, build, get more customers, and then accelerate the process. We, like I say, we're at kind of pre-seed round, but bigger funds are talking to us already about, can you come and talk to us in a month when you finish this round, and let's see where you are, which is really cool.
Super awesome, dude. Like, and you guys are based in London, so there's definitely lots of people out there to talk to as well.
Yeah, we are. We're just south of the river, so we're right by London Bridge, which means we're in the cool, trendy part. Because we're a creative agency, but we can also then wander over the bridge to the city and talk to all the big companies, and occasionally I'll put a shirt on.
All the banks, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks a lot for taking the time.
No problem.
And, looking forward to seeing where Compass goes and helping you out whenever possible.
Oh, totally. Do you want anything about you guys, like Databutton?
Whatever you think. I mean, however you feel like you can kind of highlight us, that would be cool. Yeah.
I guess let's start with the truth. So the real power of Databutton is speed. Okay, so and it's not just speed for the sake of it. It's, I can talk to a customer and they can go, can Compass do this, or can you change Compass to do that? And in a really quick amount of time, I can go into the platform, talk to the agents in Databutton, and actually build things, and then hit deploy, and it's live. And what's always been amazing, the thing I loved about Databutton in the beginning was that speed element, and for someone like me, you solve deployment. I don't have to think about deployment. I don't have to think about hosting. I've got a really cool interface and can then hit deploy, and it was out there. The version of Databutton that you've currently got, you've kept all of those benefits of speed and ease of use and get and ship fast. How often do you hear that? But you then married it with like serious technical power. You saw Compass then. Like I'm building it sounds silly, it's a proper SaaS app in React, and it's got a proper backend and authentication, and like it's again, it sounds reductive to say, but it's real. Do you know what I mean? So when I build a new feature and then ship it to a customer, it's built on a proper platform that's kind of extensible, and that's kind of incredible. And it's interesting to see. I'm in your Discord quite a lot. When they find the power of it, and you actually build a thing. I did something today. YouTube. I built a feature today. YouTube transcribing YouTube videos. Right. Someone in the office, literally in the office, said, "Can you do it? We've got this hour webinar, and I need to write a piece of content about it." And in truth, they didn't want to watch the hour webinar. So in less time than it took to watch the hour webinar, I went into Databutton, said to the agent, "Can you build me something where I give you a YouTube URL, you transcribe it, and you give me the content?" And I've got it now, and I gave it to them, and it's a real thing. And it's even little things like, like the code is kind of like bulletproof. It's not just back in the day I would have put something together, but it's solid and it's a real thing. And that is, I think, really cool. And I think the more people get to see Databutton, and I've looked at lots of different products around, it's got a real serious, like you're building seriously good apps. I think Trigger put something in LinkedIn today about how you were getting some feedback about real developers going, "This code's actually good." I mean, that's kind of incredible. I mean, my code's never good, but that's kind of really cool. So that's the good thing about Databutton. It's speed, but it's speed and then also building a proper app. And I spent a load of time talking to maybe, I think, you and Martin ages ago about, as well as my world of marketing, there's a world coming where you just talk to an agent and it builds an app.
Yep.
And everyone uses custom apps because they can, and it's, and that sounds kind of nuts, but once you use Databutton a few times, you can sort of see how that could be a thing, which is very cool.